All right, it is the top of the hour, and really good to be here with Mike Mooney, as always, doing what we do, and that is elevating you, reaching your peak. I'm Kraig, Kann, Mike Mooney, right there. I'll tell you, for everybody that's joining us right now, it's been an interesting morning to say the least, and always fun to have a little scramble at the last second and try to figure this all out. But that's technology. That's what happens, and we're all good, man. We're all good.
We're good. I think I've wiped the sweat off my brow a little bit here. Had a little bit of coffee, but there's nothing like that moment when you're a few minutes from going live, and then on your computer you see the beach ball of death start to swirl around. So we're just glad to be here this morning. Good morning, everyone.
Yeah. Good to have everybody with us, as always. So here's what we're going to do. The topic today is going to be about finding your voice. And just to give everybody a little bit of a background, because we do this each and every week on Thursdays, 9 a.m., I'll give you the very quick Kraig Kann. For those of you who don't know, 25 years in television broadcasting, was also the chief communications officer at the LPGA for 5 years. And also now run my own business. I work for SiriusXM PGA Tour Radio, but I spend the majority of my time traveling the country, keynotes and workshops, leadership communication based, although right now with COVID, I don't travel very much at all. So that's kind of what it is. It's a lot of virtual stuff, and this is our opportunity to chat. Mike, I'll let you give the synopsis of you, and we'll be off to the races this morning.
Well, nice segue, off to the races. So after 25 years in the high-performance world of motorsports, working for amazing brands like Tylenol, Walmart, Sunoco, Sprint, Mercedes-Benz, to name a few, and helping them in brand strategy and crisis management and reputation management, I took those experiences and wrote a book called Reputation Shift, which is all about shifting perspective in the way that we manage proactively versus reactively our reputations. So I've taken that as a centerpiece of my practice, and I'm out doing keynotes, more virtual events now, as Kraig was mentioning, but also do workshops across the country, coaching and consulting work. Just great opportunities to help people shift the way that they're looking at building, protecting one of their greatest assets, especially in this hyper-connected world. So yeah, a little bit about me.
That's great. That's the fun part of it. Both of you and I do basically the same thing, which is travel and help people. And we're gonna have a little announcement here in the next week or so about some other cool things that Mike and I are going to do together.
Looking forward to that.
I want to kind of revisit last time we gathered, which our topic was this: finding your purpose in your current job and your career. Now, the thing that we always do, and we had a really good chat last time. I mean, it was a lot of fun, and I think you and I, probably both learned a little something from each other in that conversation. With today's world of a lot of people being furloughed and laid off and whatnot, this was the opportunity for us to have that conversation. And so what we do each week is we offer people the opportunity to come in and ask questions and share and all of that. And I do have a question that somebody brought in last week. So I'm reading this one right here. And I'll show people, by the way, how they can send in the questions or how they can get with us. You can definitely do it on Facebook Live. By the way, thanks for joining us on Kann Advisory Group Facebook Live. And however you're able to see this and hear this. With our technical issues today, hopefully you're able to hear this and see this. But here's the question that came from last week. We're talking about finding your purpose, okay? Is this something that takes years to figure out, or can I just figure it out by myself? In other words, is it a process, or is it something that I can do by myself? That's Steve in North Carolina. I thought that was a really good question, and I think we kind of talked about that a little bit last week. So why don't I let you kind of try to answer that question for him, and I'll throw in my 2 cents as well.
Yeah, I look, Kraig, it was a great conversation we had around this, because I think you and I actually I found the purpose in 2 different ways. We had said, you had shared before that you had found yours at a very early age and knew exactly what you were built and wired to do. And I myself, I just kind of like gerrymandered around the mountain and tried different things, and it just started to evolve, and I started to figure that out. So I would probably go back to the root of it, which is that it's a personal journey, Steve. I'd love to say that it's take this vitamin, try the blue pill or the red pill, and choose your adventure. But it's not. It's truly a personal journey that takes. In my case, it took time and experience of doing things I didn't like to do, which taught me more about my purpose and what it is that truly lights me up. And that's just sort of how my journey sort of evolved and has gone. And for me to get to where I am today, where I'm out in my practice and doing the work that I'm doing, it took me 12 years of getting prepared, of getting things ready, and the experiences and knowing the people and sort of sharpening the saw before I felt I was at a place where I could make that pivot in a way that I could be successful. So again, it's personal for me.
I'm going to share a story because I don't know that this is the exact moment, but I think it definitely helped me. So obviously for years, I did TV. And as you talk about, that was the thing that I wanted to do. That's what I felt like I was wired to do. That was my dream from early childhood is to be on TV and host and be a sportscaster. I did that for a long time. I guess, you reach your goal. And then I had this amazing opportunity to work for the LPGA and to lead in communications and be the voice or one of the voices there. Amazing leadership team and commissioner. But I got that opportunity to help shape and present the message. And that was a lot of fun for me. I started my own business simply to elevate communications for companies, for people, to help them find their best self and present their best self and their message. And so I was out doing one of my workshops, the Elevate workshop that I do for a corporation. And somebody came up to me afterward. This was early on. And it happened twice. It happened once at a workshop and it did happen at a keynote. Somebody came up to me and said, man, I think it might have been Titleist, to be honest, where I was doing the workshop. But they were like, I recognize you from years on TV talking about golf, a Golf Channel, et cetera. But man, this is really what you were wired to do, being in front of a group or an audience and sharing and helping other people to get better, which is exactly what I was trying to do when I took that opportunity on. And it really made me feel good. I got to be honest, you do shows and you go home and it's like, hey, great show. Hey, today was a good show. And everybody, high fives, whatever, you walk out the door and the show's over. This is an opportunity. And this. You go out there and you help people. You do your workshop. You do your keynote. It lasts with people for a long time. A TV show is here and gone, blah, 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 blah. I'm chatting away. I do radio for Sirius XM. The show's over and it's gone and they move on to the next show, whatever it might be. But this was different. And the same thing happened at a keynote. And somebody said, man, I really like your message. It was really great. It was empowering or inspiring or whatever they said. This is what you should be doing. And I'm like, well, I am doing it. And so I think at that point I realized this is what I need to be doing. And I just want to help people. Not everybody's going to be a broadcaster or sportscaster, be able to present. That's what I was trained to do. That's what I was coached to do. That's what I've done. Doesn't make me the best of the best, but it makes me more comfortable in that situation. And other people aren't as comfortable. So I really enjoy it. That's the purpose that I feel I have to do best. And so you've done the same thing. I mean, you're helping companies all the time with how they build and shape their reputation, how they manage their reputation in times of crisis, and how they get the most out of every communications message that they have. I mean, you and I are both marketing and communications guys. So, Steve, that's how I would answer the question. That's
and I'm going to answer to the answer of that answer real quick too, Kraig, because you hit on something there that I think is super important. We talked about this last time. Is that first off, the purpose doesn't have to be the thing that you're doing to put food on your table. I had shared the story of a good friend of mine who was a banker and likes his job, but he felt his purpose truly was to help build orphanages in third world countries. And he's using that position and the resources and the fuel, right, of his day job to help accelerate his purpose of building orphanages for children. Yeah. So that's the first thing that I think sometimes people, when you think about purpose, it is, wow, this has got to be the thing that I do. The other part of it that I think you hit on as well, Kraig, that I just want to kind of unpack a little more is the idea that all the experiences, and you said it well, like the training you had gone through on camera, the work that you've done in communication, similar to what I've done in my career. And I'm sure that the people who are watching can think back in their lives and careers and go, oh yeah, all of those experiences, all of those times where I learned something, I fell down, right? Those are all times when you were gaining the skills that are getting you prepared for where you are right now.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where I go back to it being a journey of continuing to learn, because I feel I'm in that place like yourself. Doors are still opening up. Things are unfolding now in amazing ways that I'm realizing that the things that I started doing a year ago, 2 years ago, oh, there's the reason for that. Okay.
Yeah, and I can't wait till you and I do a workshop together. I mean, we'll be able to tell the story of how we connected in the first place, and it's really fun chatting. I mean, I think we both get a lot out of it. I've learned a lot from you, and I'm still waiting for that autographed copy of your book. So that kind of hacks me off. I've never got one of those actually yet. Reputation shift. There's a little shameless plug for you. Okay, so let's talk about our topic today. Here we go. Today's topic is finding your voice. Last time was finding your purpose. I think there's a difference. Finding your voice, building reputation. I use that word for you, Mike, because it's right in your wheelhouse. Building reputation through your message. Okay. And I think it's an interesting conversation. And here's why. In thinking about this, and you and I have talked about all the topics we're going to throw out there for people, but I think there are a lot of people in their job that feel silenced or silent. They don't feel as though they have that voice. They don't feel like what they say matters. They don't feel like they go back to the word purpose. They just feel like they punch a clock, or they go in and they do their job, and they don't have a real feeling of, wow, I did this. I'm involved. I get to say this or do this or whatever. And I think that's a a very difficult thing for some people. They feel lost. They feel purposeless, and they don't know what to do. So here's my feeling, and the way that I will start this conversation to everybody out there. Everybody's got a voice. There are a lot of people out there that talk, and they talk a lot, but they don't have a lot to say. So don't be one of those people that just goes out and yaps for the sake of yapping. In other words, you've got a staff meeting today, and you're just going to go in there, and all of a sudden you're going to be like the loudest person in the room. There are some people that will sit in the corner of the room and they don't say anything. And I've been in meetings like that. Some people, we're all wired differently. Some people enjoy the stage. Some people are a little bit more comfortable in the background, if you will. But think about the strengths that you bring. And when those topics come up that are comfortable to you, make sure that you participate. Don't sit in the back at that point, and use those opportunities to build your reputation as a contributor. I think that's what's really important most of all.
Yeah. I sort of laugh on the inside when you were talking about, hey, don't go into your next meeting and be the loudest person in the room. There was that quote, I think it may have been Abraham Lincoln, who said, better to be thought a fool than open your mouth and prove it right. So I think that, to your point, it truly is about knowing where you want to speak up, knowing where you have that place to have that voice. I'm a big believer that we're earning our reputations every single day, and we're earning it through the things that we do and the things that we say, or the things that we don't do, or the things that we don't say. And I think if we took a look at it through that lens to say that, what are we saying? What are we contributing? Are we helping, or are we hurting not only the team and the group, but also our reputations by the things that we're saying? And to me, what's unfortunate, and the way you teed it up was spot on, Kraig, is that oftentimes people feel they don't have a voice, but we have to realize that that's a conditioned response. We all have a voice. We all have something to say, but through experiences on the personal life or in the office, where maybe we were shut down, maybe we were belittled, maybe we were ridiculed, maybe we were not even listened to, right? It becomes a conditioned response that we don't have a voice. And that's probably a whole other show, Kraig, on the environment in which we choose to work and live, where we may not be valued with our voice or the things that we contribute. I think that's a whole other show. But in the case as it relates to our reputations, we have to be mindful of we're earning them every day. So at the end of the day, we've got to ask ourselves, what did we earn today?
Oh, there you go. Let's stay on that for a second. What did we earn today? Okay. So you go to work, Mike. Let's paint a scenario. You got to work, and you know how many times you probably heard this in what you did. Oh, I've got a 9 a.m., a 10 a.m., a 1 p.m., a 2 p.m. I used to go crazy over that. Like, what are we doing? I could be doing so much better work by being on the phone, talking to people and helping generate media opportunities. Or, I didn't have obviously all those meetings when I was working in television. We didn't have that. We had a show meeting. I had a makeup chair meeting, and then I had a show to do. Okay,
that's a whole other story.
That's another
talent,
story,
Kraig. For the talent,
exactly.
It's a different world. It's a different world.
So, when you do that and you go into work, all right, you're not just going to go, all right, I'm going to talk today, right? But you kind of know what's on the table. So I'm going to paint a little scenario. I had a great team of people on my communications team at the LPGA. So many talented people. There were a bunch that were so much better that I got to hire that were better than me at so many different things that made me look good or our organization look good, et cetera. I can think of a couple of the women specifically that just were rock stars at what they did, okay? So they knew in the project we were going to be focusing on that day that this was theirs. And so what I tried to do was enable them the opportunity to have the voice that day, lead the meeting, whatever it was. So my comment to people when it comes to finding your voice, okay, finding your voice is go back to, hey, this is what I've got today. This is what's coming up. Plan a little bit ahead and go a little bit strategic and go, all right, I'm going to get more involved in this. Now, there's other opportunities or other meetings. I'm going to sit back and I'm going to learn. I'm going to listen a little bit more. But on the others, I'm going to show my worth because this is my stuff. This is what I bring to the table, what I'm best at. And then you start to build your reputation as a contributor, as a commentator a little bit, if you will, and somebody that's got something. And when it comes to finding your voice, I think sometimes we have to remember that our voice is heard if we bring value. If we don't bring value, we're forgotten. When we walk out the door, that's when people, to your whole deal about reputation, that's to me where your reputation really begins. Like what you do in the room, what you say in the room, super important, not diminishing that at all. How you carry yourself, how you put your messages out, that gets other people talking. And once you leave, then your voice carries on because other people will talk about you. So I think you just have to be more involved and pick your spots.
Yeah, more involved. The word that jumped to my mind as we were talking is the idea of ownership, of finding those places of ownership that isn't about being like overtly, bossy with it, but when it comes to ownership,
great word.
But owning the place, right? Owning these areas and taking responsibility and recognizing that your word is your bond. So to your point, there are people who will sit there in the room and they'll talk a good game, and Lord knows, I mean, I've been in meetings with them. You've been in meetings, and the people watching now have been in meetings with them. We may have been in Zoom meetings with them right now. But the people who just talk a good game, but where's the follow-up? Where's the action behind it? There was a quote, by Henry Ford, who said, you can't build a reputation on what you are going to do. So it's really about your word is your bond. What you say you're going to do, you're going to own it. And if things don't go well as planned or the way you'd like it to go, then own that too. That's okay.
Yeah.
That's okay.
Yeah. There's a line, if you if you don't ask, the answer is always no. So you need to ask for the opportunity and put yourself out there. Sometimes that's a little bit uncomfortable, but at other times it is what it is. It's a wonderful chance for you to get involved. So when it comes to message, right? I think that's something that you probably worked with a lot of people on. They had to deliver a message. They had a press conference. They had an opportunity with the media. So let's talk about that a little bit, and having a voice in that way. What comes to your mind?
Yeah. So what comes to my mind is the old phrase, and I'll go back to my PR days when we did this all the time for our clients. When I was at Nextel, when they were the series sponsor of the Nextel Cup Series for NASCAR, and the message I would deliver to our executives, it was simply stay on message, and the message was designed for the audience, knowing, right? They always say start with the audience in mind. Know your audience, know what's important, and then understand where you're building a bridge to connect within that with what you're saying. So I would say, again, it gets back to understanding the audience, understanding what the needs are. What are you going to deliver on that? And then how do you deliver it in a way that brings people in? There's a nuance here, and I learned this over the years that people will either have to work with you or want to work with you. And there's a big difference between the two places right there. And a lot of that has to do with the reputation that you've built on a daily, consistent basis of how you interact with people, how you speak with people, the message that you are putting forth to the people around you. And the other thing, Kraig, I'd offer in this is, a lot of times people think it's got to be that big moment, right, where people are earning that reputation for what they said in that pivotal movie-like moment. But the reality is that it's often in the hallways. It's often maybe in the beginning of a meeting or after the meeting. I saw this a lot, quite honestly, when I was at Roush Fenway Racing, and I would observe the way that drivers talk to their crew members. And how the way, in the moments when they're stressed, but in the moments when they were relaxed, and we had our share of drivers that, did not have a very good reputation with their crew because of the way that they spoke to them, at them sometimes, versus with them, and endearing. We had both sides of that. And it was really interesting to watch and see how that dynamic played out at that team level.
You talked about staying on message. Okay. Yeah. I think one of the things that can be challenge and it can hurt you is when your message is very scripted, rehearsed, etc. And to me, finding your voice is really about authenticity, and that's such a buzzword now, but just it's like the topic of brand, which is kind of a lot about the same. It ties into reputation. Your brand, you've got one. It is what it is. I mean, you can sit there and say all the time that you don't have a personal brand or professional brand. I actually find that semi-humorous, because you are one. It's not just your company brand and how you carry yourself, to the point you made about how you talk to other people, how you carry yourself in that regard. People will think of you in a certain way. But we've got to be able to have our thoughts, our messages, and whatever, and then make them ours, own them, deliver them with a sense of conversation, as opposed to truly direct, stated. I mean, it's like a press conference, somebody shows up and they've got the statement. Okay, why do they read statements? They read statements when they're in trouble. And there's a legal component to it. And you need to make sure you read exactly what's on the paper. The best press conferences are the ones, just once in a moment of crisis, I'd like to see somebody show up and actually just talk from the heart and the head about being sorry, or what's happened, and how I messed up, or how we messed up, or whatever that might be. It's so frustrating to watch them try to do this, because I immediately go, I ain't buying into that. He's not sorry.
Nothing personal about that.
Sorry. There's nothing to that. So finding your voice is honestly so much more than that. It's about the way you deliver it. It's about what you deliver and how people will receive it. I think you said earlier, you got to know your audience and you got to know what they're looking for, and you start with the end in mind. I always tell people, let's start. So I'll use an example. Let's say I'm going to have a powwow with my kids, and I have things that I need to talk to them about, or I need to deliver something to them. How are they going to receive this? And if I deliver it this way, what will the outcome be? Well, what do I want the outcome to be? Do I want them to be happy? Do I want them to know I'm serious? Do I want them to know this? Okay, let's start with that. Now let's go backwards and let's think about me and my voice and how I deliver it and how I carry myself, etc. I think that's what we have to do sometimes. And the other thing that I would say too is that for the most part, and I think you probably found this in what you did when you were in the NASCAR world as an executive, nobody really pays attention when everything's going great.
Right.
They just don't. I mean, it just sails along and, everybody's on the path, etc. When it goes bad, man, all eyes are on the people that matter. And they want to see how they react. They want to, now their ears are open. Okay, what are they saying? Who are they talking to? Yeah. What level of seriousness or directness is there to this message? So finding your voice is about figuring out, to me, where you are within your organization, what value you bring, what opportunities there are for you to take part, how you can showcase your skills in the best possible way. And those who will receive it, will they be so emotionally charged by the things that you talk about, how you deliver it, that they will be actually feeling compelled to go share it with somebody else?
Yeah.
Because that's how your brand and your reputation is built. It's upon other people. It's like word of mouth marketing.
Yeah.
I don't send out press releases about me and my workshops. I want those who attend the workshop to feel empowered and inspired enough to go tell somebody else, man, you should have been there, or what a great experience for me. He put me in a situation of uncomfortable and made me feel comfortable about it. That's what I'm looking to do. That's about finding your voice and making other people feel better.
Yeah.
That's, to me, what it's all about.
Yeah, I love that. And it's about being authentic, right, to your values. And sometimes that's where you can find your voice, is within your values and the things that matter to you, but also the intentionality of that. I think we'd all be better at this if we were also better students and observe. That was something that I have done throughout my career. Is I would find somebody, whether it was in my organization or outside, and if it was in the way that they spoke or the way that they ran the meeting or the way that they moved people to action, and say, what is it that they did? How did they do that? Right. And then find those ways to try to emulate that. But to your point, do it in a way that is my voice, that is my way, because they're doing it their way. And again, a lot of this, folks, as we're having these conversations, please understand that, we're not giving the answers for everything as much as trying to give you thoughts to reflect upon, giving you some ways to try to look inside and say, how do I make it mine? How do I do this my way? Because we all have the gifts and the skills to do it in the way that is truly unique and ours. So the way that I do it is different than the way Kraig does it, is different than the way that you would do it. But through these stories and experiences, and again, being a lifelong learner, you will be able to find that voice, build that reputation. But it starts with the values. I've in my book, and it's funny because I'm a communications guy. I was never a math guy. That's why I went to
Oh my gosh, don't even get me started, man. If I had to homeschool my kids at this point, like so many people are doing in this pandemic, they wouldn't be in my office very often unless it was English, because any math, they would be completely far away from me. That's
right. Listen, in our house when I was a kid, we'd celebrate when I had C's, in math. That was a win. It was high fives all around the Mooney household. But in my book, I do believe that there are things that sequentially should and could happen in the equation form. So I put together what I call the reputation equation. It's basically that your values drive your decisions drive your behavior. Your consistent behavior over time is what then shapes and drives your reputation. So, I always go back to and believe that there's it's vitally important to be aligned and in sync with our values and how we show up and what we say and what we do, and making sure that those are always connected, because you can't go wrong when you're in that space.
No, you can't. I was just looking down at my phone and want to thank the people that are checking us out here live on Facebook. We do it on Thursday mornings. We've had a couple of weeks where some things have gotten in the way with clients, and I say gotten in the way. We're glad to have those clients and busy with family situations and whatnot. But no, it's great to be with everybody. So, as we start to wind this down a little bit, look, folks, if you've got questions, we're all ears, and you can email those to us. And what we always do is we take questions that you might share today, and then we'll answer some of them next week. And we'll come up with our next topic, which I'll get to our next week's topic here in just a moment. But Mike, as we kind of start to wind this down a little bit, are there any thoughts that you still have, about the voice, and maybe about, a type of, when I think about it, I think, okay, voice, I'm not saying that you need to all of a sudden become a public speaker and somebody that's on a stage or somebody that says, hey, I want to do this. But I would say this, I think this is important. I think you've got to kind of nudge somebody a time or two to say, I'd like to host this meeting, or I have some ideas on this topic. I'd like to do a lunch and learn based upon my skill set, or I'd like to, lead this Zoom meeting for our organization. And to me, the best leaders give people within their organization that might be, on their team, an opportunity to lead, because through that, you as a leader get a chance to coach, counsel, and connect with the people within your team. You're giving them that opportunity to succeed. So to me, I think enabling people to have a voice is a great gift. Again, I'm not saying go become somebody who's going to travel around the country delivering keynotes all of a sudden. I'm just saying find your moments, pick your spots. And if you're a leader, my gosh, give people that opportunity to talk, give them something that's theirs.
Yeah. And I'll take it from the other side of the table, Kraig, is to say that if you're the person trying to find your voice, the first step in doing it is opening your mouth, right? Mm-hmm. Have the courage after you've prepared, right? And you've thought about what you want to say, but open your mouth, step into a position that may be uncomfortable, that you may not feel as though you're quite ready for. And you'd be amazed though, with the preparation and being intentional, what can happen as a result. So I do believe that while leaders need to look around the room and around the table and ask people to share their voice and bring them into that conversation, I do believe with 100% of my being that we also have a responsibility to, even though our knees may be a little weak, to stand up and step into something that may be new or different. Because you may find that the voice is there. You just had to open up your mouth and let it out.
Yeah. What do you got going this week? I know it's almost Friday. Big 4th of July barbecue. What do you got?
Oh yeah, just you're having the family in town, my friend. It's going to be great. Just going to be grilling, getting some wings on the Big Green Egg. Love smoking them, and having some great family time, lounging in the pool. How about yourself?
There you go. Well, when the weekends roll around, that's when SiriusXM takes over for me. So I've got shows on Saturday. Actually, I've got a 2-hour show on Friday in the morning, 10 to noon. And then Saturday night, Sunday night, Monday, filling in the morning, 8 to 10. So I got a little bit of radio. And today, actually, I've got 2 recordings of Tracks to Success. So I'm working on season 2. Upcoming guest for season 1, the finale is coming up Monday, July 6th. Mike Mooney was one of the first five ever on Tracks to Success. Man, I am so pumped about where this is all going. Apple Podcasts has really taken great ownership of it, and a lot of people downloading, leaving comments and reviews. So I'm very excited. My guest that caps off season 1, which has exceeded my expectations, is somebody that I will just say this. College football fans will definitely know who he is, and I'm excited to present that. Take a month off and then kick it into high gear with season 2. And I'm already recording all those. So I'm about 11 in on a 15 15 guest platforms. So
That's
man,
awesome, man. That's awesome.
Totally psyched about season 2 and who I've got on there. And what's really cool, without giving the name away, and I think I know you well enough to know, you like country music, right?
Oh yeah, I do. Yeah.
Yeah. So out of nowhere, I get this email from big PR firm of a country music star that's, I would say, pretty well known.
Yeah.
Hey, this person, so I'm not even going to say male or female, would really like to be on your podcast. And that's when I started to know, all right, so we're getting a little traction here. So this is a good thing. So I'm excited about that. All right, let's talk about next time when we get together. And this is the topic that we're going to discuss: what your resume actually says. And then I think this is important because, we're in a situation, you can call it a recession, you can call it a pandemic, whatever, but we're in a financial situation where your resume matters right now. I mean, it really does. And a lot of people are forced to put it out there. So building that recession-proof portfolio is really important. You got anything you want to throw at that just as a teaser as to what your thought might be?
Well, I would say without a doubt, today's world, not only the resume that people are putting out there, but the idea that we've got to complement that on what people see perhaps on LinkedIn or other professional networking sites. The idea of the resume on paper is one component in order to try to recession-proof your career and life, but then also looking at how are you on your social channels, because people are checking that. Recruiters are checking that.
Yeah.
No question.
Yeah. Well, I would say this. I'll give one line. When it comes to your resume, bullet points and specific things are only a part of it. You need to be a storyteller.
Absolutely.
And I'll leave it at that. That's my tee up. Okay, if you want to learn a little bit more about what Mike does and what I do, for me, you can go to kannadvisory.com. You'll learn about my workshops, the Elevate Workshop, and coaching one-on-one to build your brand and become the best presenter you can be. I tell people all the time, Mike, I will not make you the best public speaker. I can't do that. I can make you your best public speaker and your best presenter. And we work on an entire little skill set workbook and go through these drills. And I really love doing it. So if you want to learn more, kannadvisory.com. Tell me about what you're doing and your site.
Yeah. So if you want to learn more, go to MikeMooney.com. You'll find a lot of information on there around my keynotes and messages. Again, doing a lot of virtual work right now. But the idea is I want to help you blow open doors of opportunity through the secret. There's a little secret that's all around us. We know it. It's called reputation. It can open doors. It can also keep doors locked. So let's blow them open together. I want to help you do that. Check it out on my site. You can go to my social channels and hear some of the messages on that too. And again, we just love to continue to connect.
That puts a wrap on Elevating You for today. Hope you enjoyed the program. Again, we started this just because we wanted to have some conversation, casual conversation, bring a cup of coffee to the table and get up in the morning. You're talking to two very technically challenged guys. So for us to pull this together and do it to the best of our ability on a live stream is a real challenge, but we have fun doing it. So just want to say, everybody, thanks so much for tuning in. And as always, I will post this on various sites so they can see that afterward. Mike, man, thanks. Always fun to have the chat. And I hope you have a wonderful weekend, buddy.
Thanks, Kraig. You too, man. Always a pleasure. And we'll do it again next week. Have a great weekend, man.
Yeah. Everybody, thank you so much. Take care. And we will talk to you soon.